Okay, Manav, so great. A very, very warm welcome
Thank you so much.
to Newscanvass session today. And thank you so much for your time that you are taking out to interact and, give us this video of yours, which we would want to share with all 2022 aspirants um, to give them and explain from you that how was your experience with respect to CLAT and one of the most toughest section, which is GK, right? So, firstly, a heartiest congratulations from all of
Thank you so much.
us on your rank. And let's first start with, how has your journey been for CLAT? And, how did you sustain every time the exam was getting postponed? So, let's start with that.
So first of all, I started with the 2-year batch with the career launchers. So I'm a 2-year student. I started my preparation in 11th. But as you know, in the 2-year batch, sometimes the student gets demotivated or we get lazy that we have 2 years left. So,
Correct.
but the benefit of 2 years is we get a some familiarity with the paper. We understand, we get to know the basics. So when we start studying seriously, like I started studying seriously after the CLAT 2020 examination, which was on 28th September. So from October, November month, I started studying seriously. And since then, if we consider this, there is about the CLAT has been postponed about twice. I think it was supposed to be
Correct.
like by the normal deadlines, it should have been in May. It was for June 13th and it was held on 23rd July now. So I would say one must not get discouraged by the postponements and see it as an opportunity, because if you do not utilize that time, then within the time period of the extended 1 month, 1.5 month, a competitor, he'll outwork you and he'll take your seat. So if you are getting more time, then you have to prepare yourself in a better way and you have to absolutely
So what
utilize it.
what kept you motivating to use that extra time, and which is the topic where you spent most of this extra time?
See, I had my strategy planned out. What I
Mm.
had planned is I should focus like the 100 marks, that is English section, logical reasoning, and legal reasoning. These come out to be exactly 100 now. So this is a section which I can't cover within 1 or 2 months. So throughout the first phases of the preparation, and most of the the tricks are the common in both of these. There are both kind of passage based reading based questions. So first, my strategy was to master this section and get a consistent score of at least out of the 175-80, at least on the starting phase, out of these 100
So when you
questions.
when you started for this CLAT 2021, what were your scores?
My first mock which I ever gave, the score was 38, but that was very early on.
Okay.
Then it went to in the range of 60s, but the my okayish range was for the for around 2-3 months when I was studying, it was in the range of 80 to 90 at max.
Okay.
Yeah. And then but the most important thing is one must not score about must not think much about the scores, because that is just the way to keep a track.
Correct.
If I get low scores, I must not get demotivated, but see it as just why are you scoring low, and see it as the guiding, that if I am scoring low in this section, I should work on this more, and not see that if I am scoring low in this section, then I should not focus on this. I should focus on the other ones, which are my so-called the strong sections, because you do not know in the examination which section is going to be in your favorable way. All of these sections are going to be there, and all that matters is the end score. It doesn't matter if the score comes from a strong section or the weak section. So I would first advise is try to finish up with your reasoning sections, reading sections, and by doing that, you can do that by strengthening your reading speed, by practicing your RC articles and everything. And that is not the purpose of this. But for the GK section, I think GK is the make or break section, because you can score, you get to do 36, 35 questions, and within at max 12 to 15 minutes, max to max. And either you know those questions and you score a 1, or you do not know them. There is no thinking, or there is no reasoning, there is no basis in that.
Correct. So how many hours did you invest in GK?
I spent most of my last days, like since these board examinations got cancelled, I guess they were cancelled in April month or so. Earlier, I used to spend on at least 1.5 or 2 hours on GK, and that was mostly reading my Newscanvass PDFs along with some GK from here and there, YouTube videos, some sort. But mostly it was reading the Newscanvass PDFs So regularly I used to read about 4 or 5 PDF, 4 6 PDFs a day. And that was, I think, sufficient at that time, because at that time GK was not my priority, my other sections were the priority. But at the end I spent about, if I am regularly, I used to study about 7 to 8 hours a day, and
Okay.
50% of that was earmarked for GK, and the rest was 2 hours for mark and rest for the other sections and practicing. So for the
So
GK also,
yeah,
yeah,
sorry, go ahead. So you said
it,
50% of your time is going to GK.
now am I audible?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
you
are.
are.
Yeah. So what I was saying is, and during the last days, like the last 1.5 1 month, I spent about 3 to 4 hours a day on GK, and that too on revising the topics again and again. Because during the last days, you should strengthen the knowledge you already have. Because if
Right.
you are going to incorrect, you are going to get less marks in a question which you had studied earlier, but but you do not remember it because you studied. That is going to give you a greater regret. But if you are going randomly everywhere, I'm studying this, I'm studying that, I'm now following another source, there is no surety that I'll get the question. But if I am studying something, I've already studied it, then I must make sure that I will be able to attempt this if this question comes in the exam.
So correct. So in terms of strategy, right? If we talk about the GK strategy, did you kind of so when we had this session, we gave you the GK strategy. Did you kind of dedicatedly follow that strategy, and you, if you could help students know what that strategy was?
See, the best thing about this PDF system is we can now limit ourselves. We do not need to go around making notes from the newspapers. I never made note from the newspapers, at least. And my main focus for reading newspaper was purely the editorial section and strengthening my reading. It was not of GK, because we are not the experts ourselves. We already have too many tasks at our hand. We cannot also become the GK experts and select the topics which you have to read from the newspapers. We have the team for that. I bought the subscription for that. So at least my advice is, have faith in the material that the Newscanvass team is providing, because until and unless you do not have the faith, you cannot rely, you cannot truly learn. If you are not committed towards that, if I have decided that now I am going to only and only follow this, then I am putting my faith and trust, then only I'll give my 100% in this. So at least trust the content which is being provided, and make it and put it in your mind that this content is enough, and if I thoroughly practice this and revise this and follow the strategies, I am going to get my marks. Then only we can move forward.
Yeah, so Manas, I believe I've heard you for a bit, and now I find that I can summarize saying that yeah, you've given marks, but
Yeah,
you
yeah,
didn't get disheartened by the score. Rather, you critically analyzed and took some learnings and did better in the other mocks. You also did not waste your time looking at other materials, if I may say,
yes,
because you had complete faith in what we were providing. But yeah, certainly you did refer to certain editorials just to enhance your reading section, if I'm not wrong.
yes,
And
yes,
I think that's very much important, because this time we had questions mostly which required your starting information testing, but before that there was passage based questions.
analytical
So
base, yeah.
exactly. So if your reading section is strong, anyways, those inference based questions can be of use to you. So I think that's pretty much an intelligent way or a judicious way of studying, because you cannot study everything, and if you study everything, you're not able to revise it towards the end, then you're gone. So revision was also something which you necessitated, and
Yeah,
I think Rekha ma'am has been telling it multiple times in her strategy sessions to avoid randomness, if that's the word she uses, so right from her orientation session, which I know, and towards the end also she keeps on forcing on revising stuff. So rather than only did you only revise your daily updates in Events Analyzed, or you revise something else also from Newscanvass?
Mostly I followed it. Because I did not plan on sitting for the MHCT or the AILET where they are the one-liners. So I did not go through this, the GK shorts or the GK Sarthi. I mainly relied on the daily updates and the events analyzed. And after I was done reading the event analyzed, I went on reading the monthly MCQ, the 250 MCQs of the month. Then I went towards, during the revision phase, I used to open the 50-40 pages PDF compilation and read the not so major events from there, and then used in, and the best option I had there was I could click open the event from there only and read the event in detail. So when you are already done with your major events and you are just doing in the revision phase, then you could skip those smaller events and just read the summary. So it stays in your mind. And when you are revising the larger events, you must be sure to cover each and every aspect, each and every detail, because as seen in this paper, they are even asking the smaller details, which was a bit not expected. But still, we cannot complain. We can only go with the flow. We have to answer the questions. So, and after even the PDF released by ma'am, which showed the questions were there from with the PDFs only, but they were a bit from the detailed sections, not the major questions.
So Manas, can you tell everyone how many times did you end up revising? So the number of times you revised for, these things to get registered?
In counting the 210, the 210, 260 most important list and everything, I must have revised at least the major events about 7 to 8 times, and the overall events around 3 to 4 times minimum.
So do you used to follow, say, certain days which you are dedicating to revising old month when you're preparing? What was your normal routine in terms of preparation?
My normal routine was like, after, like, if I would advise, like, I started my preparation from October. So first my priority was to complete the backlog from July. Then after covering, and if you are reading the event for the first time, it takes a lot more time to understand it, to read it, and to figure out the things. And sometimes if I used to think that I found this thing a bit unique, so I used to go to the other sites or YouTube and I explore a bit more, because I would say even the PDF GK is unlimited. So if take genuine interest in the topic, take genuine interest in the PDF you're reading. The PDF also has a lot of the information, but it has to be concise, or it beats the point if everything is in there. So if you are finding a topic which is a bit difficult, or if someone is from science background and they see a topic from the economics topic, then they should a bit research they could go on YouTube and see a little bit more about the terms, economic terms, and read a bit more. And when they see it in the real life, link it with it.
Correct. So basically, you're trying to say that it's very important while you were reading the PDF also, you kind of go and read extra for the things that you don't understand from it, because that helps you deepen your knowledge.
Yes, exactly.
In terms of that particular event, because that is very, very crucial when it comes to exam.
Yes, and the most important thing is to revise, because if you are reading it only once, you are only reading it. But after reading it for 4 or 5 times, it's written in my memory. If I open the PDFs, I can go line by line. Like this word, if I can memorize it. Like I can picturize that I am opening this PDF in the red color triangle. I have this data written. So it takes time to read it for the first time. But gradually, even I can even complete now after revising time. It took me on average 4 to 5 minutes to complete the 10 to 12 pages PDF.
So 1 month, how much time do you used to take to complete a month?
See, that is the subjective thing. When I started, it took me about 15 days to complete 1 month. And I guess approximately 1 month has 40 events on average, right?
Correct.
30 and 10 are there. So it took me when the first time I was reading, it took me about 2 to 3 weeks. But on the last days of the revision, I used to take 1 month every day, each and every single day. And that too, my calculation was 40 events, 3 to 4. Even there are even some minor events, so I could just read through them. And because even there are minor events, there are not too many details, and some events are only analytical based events, just so that you know that something like this happened during the year. They do not have much detail or analysis in them. So I used to just rush through those events. This happened, this time. Okay, I should see the 5 questions in the end. Okay, done. And the larger events, they took only 3 to 4 minutes. So 40 events. So even 3 to 4 minutes. So in about 3 or 4 hours, I used to distribute it during the day, and I was done with the GK for the whole day. And that is the best way, in my opinion, in about a week. And I am saying this for the last days of the preparation. In about a week or in about 2 weeks, you could revise the whole year's GK along with the questions, and you could even test yourself during the MCQ quizzes and everything.
And that is very effective time management, I believe.
So you used to give follow the daily quizzes that we were giving in the last mile, right?
Yes,
after you've studied through attempting the quizzes. So what was your so let's say end of the day you're giving the quiz. So how much you used to score in those quizzes?
Sometimes I used to get 1 or 2 wrongs, because that was not, because even though the questions were a bit times at same with the PDF. Correct. But that was not the purpose, because my purpose was, if I am attempting this in the mindset of the examination, with a little bit of fear and tension, I used to attempt with questions with the timer. because
Okay.
I do not have the time to read the passage, then move to the questions. I took a quick glance at the passage, I registered the topic, and I try to recollect it, what was the event PDF and what all was written in it. So I would get one or two correct at one or two incorrect times. It could vary, because but I did not care, because the only score that matters is on the day of the examination. Because even if I get 0 or I cheat and get even 100 out of 10 anyway, it won't matter. Only the score that matters is in the examination, and to get that score I have to focus on the material. That's it.
So
There is
you,
no yeah.
so you kind of focused on the event list, right? You went
Yeah,
event
yeah,
by
yeah.
event on the list and said, okay, these are the list of events that I'm going to focus on. Did at any point of time you had a worry that, what if an event doesn't comes from this list, and how did you tackle that worry?
See, that worry will every time be there, even if you are giving mocks. So a student also do not have to blindly follow you. So I always had my doubts. I thought, if this question comes, so I used to do analysis. After a time, I had completed the revision of the whole Newscanvass thing by twice. And I guess this, I'm talking this about the time of February, and I used to get the mocks in my scores in the range of 85 to 88. And I am talking about the career launcher mocks. So I used to analyze the GK sections. They were on average 7 to 8 passages. Usually there were 7 passages. And I used to check that if the passage, if I am getting a question wrong, what is the reason? One could be, the reason is there could be at max 3 reasons. One, I never knew the topic, so it was not my fault, I never read it. Second, I knew the topic but I did not attempt it correctly. Third, I knew the topic, I read it, still I made some mistake.
Correct.
That is a silly mistake on my part. So if the option was the first, that I had never read the passage in the first place, so now I went through the your list or the monthly PDF lists, and I find that was this thing covered in Newscanvass? If not, then I even used to put message on the group, ma'am, this topic came, it was not covered, and it was promptly covered by within 3 4 days, and that was something which made me happy, because you guys were listening, and it was a very responsive environment. There was not that you were only providing. So, and the best thing to consider is, even and I had this talk with my sir who sets the mocks of CL, and he said there are, if about a mock or 2 mocks are released every week, so they have to put 14 passages, 14 topics. There are not enough topics in a month to put 14
Correct.
15 topics each and every month. So out of these 7 passages, at least 2 to 3 passages will be not so important from the examination point of view,
Correct.
and they are just there. So
Yeah.
there are, that is a very rare chance, and I do not know anyone who gets a perfect score in GK. And GK, getting a perfect score is pure chance. Even getting a score above 27 28, there is a chance factor, because you cannot cover each and every 100% single thing. You cannot do everything. We are not the Google, we are only students who are passing out of class 12. So you just have to work through
I
the
think
odds.
Correct. I think this is a very important message for 2022 students, Manas, that, don't get worried, because ultimately you're not Google, as you rightly said. So you'll not know everything. You will have to know certain things, but you should know those certain things really, really well. So that's absolutely correct. So Manas, which is an NLU that you're joining now?
Right now, I just paid the fees of NUGS Kolkata, and I've
Okay.
applied for the upgrade, but there are very less chances to get into Nalsar. But I'm happy with Kolkata. At least I fulfilled my dream of the top 3 colleges.
Great.
Amazing. That's so we wish you an amazing journey ahead. And any last message that you would want to give to the 2022 aspirants?
All I would say is, try to look GK as the make or break section, because on the day of the exam, English, legal, logical, these are sections which are covered in each and every other examination, be it GMAT, CRR, CL, SAT. Each and every examination covers these. So a student will be able to crack this, even if he is taking the other, he is sitting for other exams like DUJAT, IPMAT, and everything. But the GK, especially of the CLAT section, if you are able to master it, then you get the competitive edge over the other students. And also, the biggest thing is, in GK, you get the confidence of marking them. And you know the answer is correct. So you can move on with confidence. Yes, I have secured 25, 28 marks in this section. And that is a good score. In any day, like I myself scored only 22 and I was disheartened. But because of this section being a very, but on the unexpected side, I was assured that above 20 is a good. So do not get disheartened. Just give your best and do not focus on the score of the mocks. See, do not see the score as a negative thing. That if you, even if you're scoring 5 out of 36, see why you are not getting the other 29. Where did the other 29 go, and work towards that. Do not score scores as a a mark of your performance. Rather, see them as the guiding factor and try to analyze. There is a lot of analysis in GK. And another trip I followed is, if you are getting a GK question and if there is one correct answer and three incorrect, always do Google the other three incorrect answers, because
Incorrect.
the one
Right.
who is setting the questions, he or she had put it there for a reason. So if you
Right.
can find out why, because they were meant to be similar. If they put in a question, so try to even read the other three options. A small Google search won't do any harm.
Correct.
Just get a gist of it and get into the mindset of the question setter, that how was he trying to trap you. And if you can follow his mindset now and do the questions, even if you do not know any topic, you can just go about the elimination. Many a times the surnames are same, first name last name is same, the names are same, you can even eliminate them, and by the chance and the gut feeling, you can even get a correct question even in the topic you did not read. So all I would say is, just keep on revising consistently and constantly, and do not break the flow in GK. Just, if you even you're spending 30 minutes a day, do spend that 30 minutes and do not break the flow, and keep on going with the GK. And the maximum time I would say, spend about an hour a day during the normal days. Just do the event and be over with it. Go to the other sections and do not roam around aimlessly. Focus on the sources you have. Do not make extra notes. If you want to make, that is okay, but focus on the PDFs and keep on reading the PDFs again and again. And Mehta ma'am has stressed this so much that you have to revise it at least 5, 6, 7 times. And just follow the strategy and the messages that are put on the group, and they are more than enough to get you a decent score. That is all I would say.
Okay,
Yeah.
Manas. So this is great to hear, right? So you did completely rely on Newscanvass, so we could say that it was great. Thank you so much, Manas, for taking
Yes,
out this
ma'am.
time for a quick interview with us. All the very
Yeah.
best.
Thank you, Manas. All the
Thank you
very
so much,
best.
ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for having me, and thank you so much to the news team Newscanvass for my, because I would say that it played a great role. So I must thank each and everyone, because even if I scored 97.75, each and every 0.25, 0.5, 1 marks was maybe from your efforts only. Thank you so much,
Thank
ma'am,
you
for
so
having
much.
me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Manas. Bye bye.
Bye, ma'am.